right, testing. Roadhouse. The Double Deuce.
There is a house.
Prepare
on
yourself.
the road.
Close your eyes and prepare yourself for the Double Deuce.
The Double Deuce. I want to talk about why it's called the Double Deuce when we get there. Okay.
Okay, so everything is silent?
Yes, it is now. Oh, let me make sure all the alarms are turned off. That's what usually gets me. Alarms. That's what one time I was recording a segment at Channel 3, and an alarm went off, like the pick up the kids from school alarm went off, while we were live to tape recording the segment, and, like, the cameraman, like, went and grabbed my purse and, like, threw it out the door. He, like, opened to the studio door and threw my purse out, and meanwhile I'm, like, on camera recording with the host, like... I was so embarrassed. Anyway, hello and welcome to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker and a comedian feel the need to fight for justice, but only sort of kind of, by rewatching the 80s movies we love and love to hate. This is Roadhouse, a movie selection from 1989.
Can I buy you guys a drink? Guess not.
Patrick Swayze is
Dalton.
I thought you'd be bigger.
Opinions vary.
When he's around, anything can happen,
How does a guy like you end up a bouncer?
Just lucky, I guess.
and usually does.
If somebody gets in your face, I want you to be nice.
Don't be rude. Ask him to walk, but be nice. Help this gentleman to the door.
Until it's time to not be nice.
So says the fighting philosopher.
He may be hard to handle,
I keep talking, you're gonna go off thinking I'm a nice guy.
I know you're not a nice guy.
but he's easy to like.
What's the matter, Dalton? Don't you like women?
Worst I ever had was wonderful.
He's not what you'd expect,
I thought you'd be bigger.
but there's one thing you can count on. He's the best friend a good time ever had.
Aren't you guys tired?
Doc, I'll get all the sleep I need and I'm dead.
This is my town.
I'm not afraid of him.
I guess you'll be having that fire sale now, all right?
Got your hands full, kid.
I just think I'm looking at a dead man.
Patrick Swayze,
For that line of work, I thought you'd be bigger.
Gee, I've never heard that before.
Roadhouse.
So this is a story about a hardworking manager who works in the entertainment field, who faces several challenges along the way.
Several. A handful of challenges, yes. I had never seen this movie before, aside from like all the parts you see just in your walking around life. I've never like watched it as a movie. Had you seen it before?
Yes. So I was first introduced to Roadhouse about 3 or 4 years ago, and my life has been better ever since.
It must be. Like, I'm so grateful for this movie. Although I feel like it is a movie written by and for cocaine.
The ideal circumstances to watch this movie is with as many tacos and beer as you can consume.
Yes.
And preferably with a group of people.
Yeah, definitely. But just like, I don't know if it's too much of a peek behind the curtain, but we're sort of doubling up our recordings today. We're doing Roadhouse, and then up next we'll be doing Top Gun.
There's a lot of adrenaline and a lot of testosterone.
Masculinity. But I went into it fully expecting to really enjoy watching Top Gun and like feel sort of ambivalent about watching Roadhouse. And the opposite proved to be true. I loved watching Roadhouse. And when I watched Top Gun, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. So
There's a lot less roadhousing in this movie than I would prefer.
oh my gosh. Okay, let's get into it.
it is never not entertaining.
No, there's so much happening so much happening. There's so much boobs. There's so much
Throats being ripped out.
with fingers. Yeah.
There's so many philosophical nuggets of information and life lessons that you can really kind of take throughout the rest of your life. There's a lot of shirtless Patrick Swayze reading books.
Yeah, which is
Exactly
everywhere
what I do too.
want to be.
And then, there's just amazing action sequences.
Yep.
Where trucks are exploding as they launch over like hedgerows, and
Yeah.
dudes with shotguns are firing, and people are getting their throats ripped out, which I've already mentioned before. But
It's worth mentioning
it's-
more than once.
it shall be mentioned again.
It's like a toxic masculinity festival, as
Yeah.
well as a mullet festival.
It is, but I would say, if anything, it's a positive celebration of toxic masculinity. Like,
It is. It really runs the gamut.
I feel like there's no victims here in this.
No, everybody deserves what they get, but like even in Patrick Swayze's, like, you know, the fighting philosopher sort of thing, he's also a dick. Like,
Yeah,
he's not.
He's basically, you know, he's got these overly masculine rednecks and white trash dudes up in his face, and he's just like, I am so much better than you. I'm super zen. Like, you don't have to be this. So he's almost the antidote, except for when it comes time to fight.
That's right.
And then-
he almost has this like nothing to prove sort of attitude.
Yeah.
And he even says to the people he's like training in his training montage, like, be nice. There's no reason to not be nice. You don't start a fight you don't intend to finish. Like, and he has nothing to prove to these assholes who are all about having something to prove.
Until he's pushed too far.
Until it becomes all too much. Because when he does fight, he's going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
And everybody says, like, there's even a running joke in the trailer that everybody thinks he should be bigger. I don't know. Is he a short man? Like, he's plenty big in terms of like the bods we've been seeing in our 80s movies that are mostly, as you know, I think dad bods. Like,
Yeah. Well, okay. So with
he's
like,
pretty ripped.
I think all the like 80s dads bods that we've been seeing, that's about as strong as you would get in a natural situation without like really killing yourself in the gym. That's the thing. It's like the dudes we see in movies, like the Chris's,
Yeah.
you know, the various Chris Hemsworths or Pratts or what have you, that is like hardcore, over the top, like Mr. Universe gym-ing. And that it's kind of a brand new thing in the last like 10, 20 years.
In expectation to be that jacked.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then the kind of buff dudes that we see in the 80s are nothing like that, but that's about as physically strong as you would get just doing normal behavior that requires physical strength.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
it's
standing in the moonlight
it's-
doing Tai Chi.
it's way more buff, and he's oiled down, too.
So oily. It's as if his body emits the oil.
Yeah.
And he's just like always shiny. I'm into it.
me too.
But yeah, in terms of like hot guy, I like in the 80s movies that we've watched so far, like he's pretty hot. I'm going for it.
Okay.
Okay, so he ends up getting hired by a guy to clean up a bar.
Called the Double Deuce.
What does that mean? What is double deuce? It sounds like it means something dirty.
I think it's supposed to brush up against that. I don't know. Does it mean like card playing?
I don't know. Well, then it would be 22, right? Double deuce would be 22.
Fans, please write in.
Explain it to me, because I kept thinking, is it something dirty? But it's like this terrible, disgusting bar where
That goes through a lot of furniture every evening.
like their bar stool budget is astronomical.
Their warehouse of furniture.
And the owner even says, like, it's the kind of place where you sweep up the eyeballs every night. What?
Yeah, and just like kind of the Blues Brothers, like the band is protected by chicken wire, so people can throw beer bottles at them.
They're in a cage for their own safety. How do you get hired to be that kind of band? Like, I wondered that too. Like, whenever you see like a movie, like I recently saw John Wick 3. And there are all these bands playing in these various, like, assassin hotels. It's like, how do you get booked for that gig? Are you in a band and also you're an assassin?
It's referrals, really.
Yeah, really. It's word of mouth is really how that works. Anyway, so Dalton shows up and takes in the scene at the Double Deuce.
Right. So Dalton is a bar manager. You know, he managed... to call it a bar is it's really a roadhouse, wouldn't you say?
A house by the road?
Right.
Although in this town there's only one road.
Yeah, it's
and
really
there's
a
only
bar
two
with
things by
it's
it.
entertainment. He's managing the staff.
Yeah.
And so we see him at one bar in one part of the country.
The bandstand.
Yeah. And he basically gets recruited to take care of this problem bar that he just recently came into money and he wants to make it something good and special. But he needs Patrick Swayze's help to kind of turn it around.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really tough assignment. He's willing to pay over his rate.
Yeah, he's paying top dollar. But so when he leaves the bandstand, Swayze, Dalton, gives his, like, sort of beater car to a homeless gentleman and then gets in his Mercedes and drives to wherever the Double Deuce is. Then parks his Mercedes and buys himself a new clunker.
Right, which is a great gag that comes up later because the staff hates him and slashes his tires and destroys his car, and he saw that coming. That's just like his professional,
He gets it.
Yeah, he's on the next level.
He is. This is not his first rodeo.
Yeah, and absolutely. And that's kind of the swagger that he's got throughout the beginning of the movie is that he's been there, done that. He's a pro, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And what this movie does is it pushes him. It's like he's never lost a fight.
Right.
He says that. And this kind of pushes him over the top.
Yeah, because he wouldn't start a fight he couldn't win, right? So that opening scene where we see like a slice of life at the Double Deuce as it is before Swayze comes by is insane. Like it's literally like a hellscape. Like there's people, the waitresses are selling Coke, people are like boning in the
the storage
the supply room. There people are like stabbing each other left and right and sideways. People are being harassed. It's like a terrible, terrible, terrible place. At one point, a dude says to the blonde woman who ends up being a part of the story later, we should end up nipple to nipple. And she says, I can do that without you. And I'm like, no, you can't. I didn't understand that. Anyway, and then everybody, he comes in and they're like, oh my God, that's Dalton. No, it's Dalton? Dalton, you say? Dalton? How the fuck are these people hearing of him? Like...
Bar Employee Monthly?
Yeah. Like, oh, have you heard about Dalton? Dalton. Like, everybody's shirts are sort of open. One guy says he should carry around his balls in a dump truck. The old guy says he's about as useful as an elevator in an outhouse. It's a lot of good writing.
That's a good one.
So he sort of fires everybody.
Well, he fires like a quarter of the staff because So that's the thing. It's like he's such a cool customer. He comes in, all this anarchy is going on. He's not even drinking. He's got coffee and he's watching everyone. So he's watching the whole thing, and he's just eagle-eyeing everyone's behavior, and he already knows what everyone's about before he gets up and talks to them.
And so he fires the lady who's selling drugs, and he fires the bartender who's like on the take, and that ends up being a big deal.
Yeah.
Because the bartender is the nephew of a guy who like owns the whole town and keeps it under an iron thumb.
Which is amazing villain Ben Gazzara, who treats objects like women. Man,
He was great though. Like he was exactly the opposite of like the Gene Simmons runaway villain who's just
yeah.
like everything's so over the top. He was just like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm gonna kill you. This is what's gonna happen. Bada bing, bada boom. Like
he's so good. He's so good. Like,
he also seems like he has nothing to prove.
yeah.
Although he's going to keep trying to prove it.
Yeah, so he's basically taking home 10% of the town. So he's got his fingers in everyone's pie, and he's taking a little bit, and he's going to use force, like, to get what he wants.
Yeah.
But he's basically kind of sees himself as the king of this town, and Dalton threatens that.
Yes.
Yeah, when he
It's so much so that he's like, they're having a meeting in his, coincidentally, he lives across the lake.
right
From where Dalton ends up living in a barn.
yeah he lives in a little kind of apartment above the barn.
Yeah, which he explains he likes because the horses will let him know if anyone's like coming to murder him. So he sort of observes this guy having these wild parties and stuff. But so he invites Dalton over to the house and he's like, look, there's going to be a J.C. Penney here because of me. Like,
I brought J.C. Penney's.
and he's just like an evil man.
Yeah, he's such a wonderful villain to watch. He is the kind of villain that you love and you love to hate. His introduction is this great moment to where he's just taking a leisurely drive, and he's weaving between both lanes in his luxury automobile, and he's just listening to his music,
Singing loud.
and he drives Dalton right off the road, not moving an inch in the way he drives. Like he's literally just swerving between both lanes, just enjoying his Saturday.
Enjoying the day. Yeah, and he's evil. So like he comes to confrontation with Dalton over the bartender that gets fired. But I did want to say, like, so when he finally is training all the people that he has
He's
approved,
got dudes in every location.
he does, and it's like apparently he's got nieces and nephews just everywhere, and he needs them to have jobs. And the reason that they're such dicks is because they feel like, oh, well, you can't fire me, my uncle will kill you. But also, like, why do you want a job at the Double Deuce, like, nephew? If your sleazy mobster uncle can get you a job anywhere, like, get a job someplace nicer than the Double Deuce.
Look, the J.C. Penney's.
You hear there's a J.C. Penney coming. You could be the general manager. But Dalton's lessons to his bartenders are, number one, expect the unexpected. Number 2, take it outside. And number 3, be nice. And I love that. And one of the guys like, well, what are we supposed to do if someone calls our mama a cocksucker? And he goes, well, that's just 2 nouns combined to elicit a prescribed reaction from you. And I'm just like, yeah, it is Patrick Swayze. Oh my God, you are so right. That's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Blah, 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 blah. So they're like, you can't fire the nephew. You have to rehire the nephew, and we will stab you over it. They're ready to stab at a moment's notice. So much stab. Stabby, stabby, stab, stab. They never actually stab anyone.
So we really have 2 methods of managerial styles here at odds.
That's right. Stabbing
So
and being nice.
if I ever had a company to where I had to train managers, I would show them Roadhouse.
Yeah. And you'd be like, look, which method is more effective?
Maybe not all of Roadhouse,
Just the good parts.
just the best parts.
There is bare Swayze ass in this movie. And I did think, like, one issue that I had was that they show him smoking cigarettes. I don't think he would be a smoker. Like, I think he would, like, all that Tai Chi and shit.
I think he started young. It's tough to quit.
It is. Okay. Anyway, he ends up going to the hospital where he meets a sexy nurse. And he carries his medical records with him.
And she's smart. She's confident. She's got a great job. But she is so hot for this bad boy.
Oh, my God, yeah. Aren't we all? Yes. And he won't even take local anesthetic to get his stitches. And he says, pain don't hurt. And it's like, well, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it
it
does.
really does. You can have some lidocaine to get some stitches, dude. Anyway, they totally are into it. Blah 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 blah. Sam Elliott shows up.
Sam fucking Elliott. That's the one thing. It's like we're talking about what else, how can this movie get better? Sam fucking Elliott, like in his prime.
And I gotta say, like, that's not. This is not my type of dude. This like sort of grizzled silver fox, but I'm into it.
Tall, lanky,
hot.
silver fox.
Yep. Who's like been around the block
Yeah.
a bunch of times. He's also a guy that people have heard of. He's like a
they're
bouncer guy.
peers. So Sam Elliott,
Mm-hmm.
Wade, they're peers. So he and Patrick Swayze do the same job.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of like Batman and Superman, but when they liked each other.
Yeah. And I love them as a team. Like, I would just love
Mm-hmm.
to see like some like buddy road movies with the two of them. Mm-hmm. And so we see like throughout the movie that the Double Deuce is getting nicer. The cage is gone. The stage looks nice. The tables are better. The bouncers are all wearing polo shirts now. Like, things are getting nice, but they still keep getting harassed.
Right, there's a valet in front. There's a beer garden.
And then we learn that things are going to get even worse because the villain is hot for the nurse,
Well,
who has like boned down with
right. Yeah. So
Dalton.
yeah, it turns out that the nurse or doctor, I forget what she is. They have a history.
He calls her Doc, so I guess
Right.
Doc.
So they have a history that goes back predating this. So it's not like she's a new object of affection. They've got a thing.
Yes. Oh, and she does. So the Doc does come to the bar. He invites her to the bar, and she does show up to the bar. And coincidentally, on the day that she arrives, like, people come to attack them with boot knives. That's the dumbest thing. Like, boot knives are the only thing dumber than finger knives. What, you can't walk around with a knife on the front of your shoe? That's so stupid.
Look, we're not criticizing this movie. We're criticizing the characters.
We are. And she gets to see him have like this big crazy fight and like win and kick everybody's ass. We get to see the inside of the villain's house.
Mm-hmm. Which
It's
is
like
wonderful.
a dead animal museum.
It's the best. It's the best like 80s movie villain house ever.
It's just full of animals, dead animals, and blonde women doing aerobics, who he hates. Like, he's like beats the shit out of her and like yells at her for doing aerobics. Yeah, I did get confused about who was the doctor's uncle.
Oh, right. It was Red, right? Who owned the auto parts store?
Auto parts store.
Yeah, which
Yes.
is like across the street from the Double Deuce.
Yeah, and they blow up. They end up blowing up the auto parts store and the farm where Patrick Swayze lives. Oh, but first, like, so the doc wants him to stay, right? She's like, you could stay. This could be the place.
Turn this place around.
But then she also doesn't want him to get into it with the bad guy. She's like, no, I want you to stay in this town, but I want you to just accept the status quo. Don't fight this bad guy. Don't rip the throats out of his henchmen. That's bad.
Yeah, so the
What?
So
That
the
doesn't
throat
make any
ripping
goddamn sense.
is Patrick Swayze's. We learn his finishing move.
Yeah.
Like Mortal Kombat.
It's exactly like Mortal Kombat.
He rips their throats out.
Dalton wins. Yeah, he rips their throat out with his finger. Like he'll like anybody who. I mean, that's when you push him too far. You push him too far, he will rip out your throat.
It's understandable.
But like, why wouldn't the guy blow up the Double Deuce? Why is he blowing up everything but the place that employs Patrick Swayze? That blow up that place first, then blow up the auto parts store where he gets his car repaired. Right?
Well, maybe we don't know what their rollout schedule is like. Maybe it's been on the block for a while, and this is a complicated organization.
Well, it is, like, because they say,
I think he'd rather control the Double Deuce because it's
Yeah.
really kind of a central nexus of people and entertainment and things that are going on. I think the Double Deuce is too important to destroy.
okay. Okay, I'm willing to accept that answer. Blah, 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 blah. And also, like, when the auto shop does explode, it's on fire. Everybody runs out of the Double Deuce because it's literally across the street. And everyone's like, oh, my God, Patrick Swayze's the only one who, like, runs over. What are you going to do, Patrick Swayze? Are you made of asbestos? Are you going to Tai Chi your way through a fucking wall of fire? And then they drive over the cars at the auto dealership. What is that about? I honestly...
Oh, yeah.
Because he was...
So we're starting to get a sense that a lot of the local business owners are kind of coming together to share their frustrations, the resistance, shall we say.
Yeah.
It's like the owner of the car dealership, Red, the owner of the Double Deuce, a couple others. Basically, they don't like being controlled by the villain.
Yeah. Because he'll, like, totally mess up their stuff. Like, he'll come in and, like, destroy
It's
their
basically,
inventory.
it's organized crime.
It is, and it's crazy. But I'm like, why doesn't everybody just leave this town? Like, if they leave the town, then it's just that one asshole in his JCPenney. It's not that nice a town. Like, it's really not that nice a town. You could pick up and move 2 towns over, like pull a Blazing Saddles, just move the town a little bit to the east, you know, and you've got this solved. But I also love the Sam Elliott, Patrick Swayze, Dalton and Wade man bond relationship. Like, that was something really special. Because, like, once he shows up, they go out drinking all night with the doc, who's now Patrick Swayze's girlfriend, we assume. And, like, he's just, like, trying to get it with. He's like, no, I want you for myself. This guy's dumb. Like, come be with Sam Elliott. And then they stay up all night, and they're just, like, best friends. But then he's like, you need to leave. Sam Elliott is like, you need to leave. This isn't your fight.
Mm-hmm. He
Get
knows
outta
a
here.
bad situation when he sees it.
Yeah, like, he's in too deep. He's like, he's in love with the doc. He feels like it's not right. He's going to fight for justice. But why is that bad?
Maybe it's just, we're not heroes. We're businessmen. We got a job to do. You're getting too involved with the locals. You do get a sense that Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott they're meant to wander. They're not meant to settle down.
Which is why every doctor who comes across them is like, I can change him. I can change him. He just needs the right woman. Spoiler alert, it's me. I'm gonna change him. Yeah, so Sam Elliott bails and moves on down the road. And like, we find out. Oh, I did want to point one thing out. I wrote this down. So, like, Sam Elliott leaves. Things blow up, and then the bad guy sends his main henchman over to. Yeah,
he's got like
across the lake.
Yeah, he's got like an elite boss.
Yes, who rows across the lake.
Right, who wears black. And he's super tough, and he also knows martial arts.
He does also, and he's very tough, and he says to Patrick Swayze, here's something. I feel like all the insults in this movie were written by someone who was too high on cocaine to understand what an insult is.
Listen, the best line in the movie is when Patrick Swayze's in the bad guy's compound, Ben Gazzara says, I see you found my trophy room. The only thing I'm missing is your ass.
That's what I mean, like... That's not a good line. That's so dumb. Like, that was written by someone who was too coked out to, like, understand that that's not very insulting. Because, like, the guy who's trying to kick Patrick Swayze's ass says to him, I used to fuck guys like you in prison. And it's like, who are you insulting? I'm not sure, like, what I'm meant to take from that. Okay. Like, okay. Should we just keep fighting? Do we need to, like, keep...
Ooh, too personal.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, so all that happens, blah, blah, blah. They go for the big showdown. Oh, no, but first, there's a Batman moment where this guy... And he's so casual. He just calls in. He's like, oh, hey, what's up? What's up? Hope your day's going good. Just real quick. Who do you want to die? Wade or your girlfriend? Just top of your head. Mm-hmm. Don't overthink it. And Patrick Swayze's like, what? And he's like, okay, I caught you at a bad time. I'll just flip a coin. It's cool. Bye. Like, And then we don't know what happens, right? Mm-hmm. So
And Patrick Swayze's losing his mind. He's got to go find his
The
friend.
doc.
Yeah, his doc and the friend.
So first Sam Elliott stumbles in and he's been beaten up.
Right.
Which I'm like, how?
Oh, okay.
How?
Yeah,
Because
right.
they've not got the jump on him at all up until this point.
right.
But he's been like beat up.
And then so he thinks it's got to be the doc.
So he's like, okay, kick it, Sam Elliott. Have a beer. We'll go get the doc. We'll bounce on out of here. And he says that. He's like, you're right. It's time to move on. This isn't our problem. It's not our fight. I'll go get my girlfriend and we'll head out. And Sam Elliott's like, yeah, let's do that. I'm going to have a Corona real quick. Goes, he finds the doctor. And of course the doctor's like, no, I'm not leaving with you. I'm a doctor.
She's like, no, I'm fine. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
I've got pepper spray in my purse.
Right. And we're thinking, mind games until he goes back to the bar.
And again, I don't buy it. They've killed Sam Elliott with one knife blow to his sternum.
Well, we don't know what happened. It could have been 100 people, and it was the 99th person finally wore him down. That's the only outcome I can accept.
Yeah. Yeah, because like up until this point, Dalton and Wade have been invincible.
Yeah, so I'm imagining the scene from Kill Bill,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's literally like 100 people all fighting.
And then someone tricks him. Like at the end, they're
Yeah.
like, no, just, sorry. Let's just have a beer. Let's work this out. And he's like, okay, man. And then
Dun, dun, dun.
knife in the heart. Or like Arya Stark did it. I don't know, but I don't know how they got Sam Elliott. But they did. And through the Bowie knife pinned to his sternum is a knife that says it was Tails, which is really leaning on Patrick Swayze and the audience remembering the whole coin flip thing that was so casually introduced. Right? So Sam Elliott's dead, and now it's time to go to the villain's house.
It's time for the final rumble.
Yeah. It's the final rumble.
So yeah, this is one of those great scenes where there's just endless waves of dudes that he's got to take out.
And so they're not all that fit. Like some of them are just like
No,
big guys because they're fat.
which
like,
is very realistic.
I guess, like that's who you'd
I'm going to
expect be a
praise this
bouncer.
film for its realism.
Okay. Also, okay, so he takes out every single guy. Every guy.
Yeah, so I had a great short film idea.
I want to hear it.
Inspired by this is the one guy who's like the one. So it's like normally we see them all like picked off like Batman style. Like he comes out of nowhere, he takes these dudes out, and then he's going down the hallway and he's taking more dudes. I want to see like the one guy. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go tell the guys in the living room that they're coming, and so he's running and turning around the corner, and everyone's already wiped out, and he's just like 1 minute too late in every single room as everyone is just getting decimated by this mysterious unseen hero.
Yeah. I love it. And then he's just like, well, what do I do?
Right.
Should I just go? I'm going to go.
Do the whole thing in one shot as like the entire compound is wiped out.
Yeah.
The guys we just saw in that room, he turns the corner and there's just blood sprayed everywhere.
Okay, so there's the fat guy who gets pinned by the polar bear.
Yeah.
He gets pinned down by the polar bear.
Patrick Swayze is using the natural environment
Yeah.
as a weapon.
And part of the natural environment is a giant taxidermy polar bear, which he pins the guy down and he says, "You're made for each other." And I'm like, what does that mean? Again, like, what is the insult? What does that
He
mean?
knows his natural weakness of polar bears.
But that guy lives, and he just sort of sneaks out at the end. Okay, because what happens is, bad guy comes to fight Patrick Swayze with a spear. A spear.
I forgot this part.
And, like, he's going to win. Like, he's going to win. He's got Patrick Swayze
Because that's his natural weakness is spears.
spears. And then the solution of this movie is that the townsfolk come out with shotguns.
Yes, and this is something I've seen in movies later, to where it's like the preyed upon victims have come together.
Yeah.
And it's all we see all the business owners with like shotguns and rifles all coming in at once, surrounding the villain.
Yep.
It's like, what? No, you're my prey. You can't hurt me.
And they're all like, well, yes, we can. There are 12 of us, and we all have weapons.
Right.
And you got a spear. And we've had enough. And so they kill him. They blow him to pieces. Everybody gets a turn with their shotgun. And they're like, yeah, okay. Like, we got you, Dalton. You're right. We don't need to listen to what this guy says. And then, so the guy who owned the auto shop, what's his name? Say it again.
Was it Red?
I think so. He starts collecting all the guns. Once the bad guy's dead, he's like, he holds out his arms and like people just start laying their guns on his arms. Like, what's he going to do? Like, he's just going to go like throw them in the trunk of his car. Like he's taking care of it. And then the sheriff comes in and everybody's like, oh, we didn't see anything, Sheriff.
It was a polar bear.
Yeah. We don't know what happened. And it's like, the sheriff should still be able to like investigate.
They're saying it in a way that the sheriff totally knows what they're saying. It's
Right.
Like, no, I didn't see anything. Jim, did you see anything? Nope. Didn't see anything. To where it's like everyone knows exactly what happened.
Right. And I guess it's sort of saying like, hey, Sheriff, you've been looking the other way this whole time. Like, you're going to have to keep looking the other way.
Yeah.
But still, like, I'm just waiting for that slice of reality of just like the one deputy who's new to town being like, no, we should still investigate. Like, there's literally evidence all over. Did you see the 15 other dead guys? This is a mass murder. Like, you know. And then
This small town has just literally lost 5% of its population in this building.
And like apparently at least a third of its revenue because no more JCPenney, right? And then like at the end we see that he's but the guy does say as he stumbles out at the end, the bad guy who survived the attack, they ask him, they're like, hey, you bad guy who survived the attack, did you see anything? And he's like, no, but a polar bear fell on me. Like, just did everybody see that a polar bear fell on me? That guy is going to be traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's over, and he goes swimming. Like Patrick Swayze, like, goes swimming with his lady. And that's that. That's a great movie.
Yeah, I know, right?
I love it.
Look.
What's not to love? It is wall-to-wall madness.
Yeah. If you want just a great movie experience with
Mm-hmm.
all the things we've just described, I recommend Roadhouse.
I recommend Roadhouse. And I'm so sad that we didn't go to the Alamo Drafthouse thing together.
Yeah.
We would have had such fun. Next time they do it, we'll have to go. Because it's the 30th anniversary. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. This movie is wonderful. What
Yeah.
a delight.
My deep cut recommendation is to rewatch Roadhouse.
Just rewatch Roadhouse.
It's like the deep cut recommendation is if you want to go further, dive further into a subject. And this is as far as you can go, is Roadhouse. That's the end. That's literally, there's nothing behind Roadhouse. It's like a scientific conclusion.
So there were some fun things in the like did you know section of IMDb that I wanted to share with you. Oh, did you know Patrick Swayze was supposed to be in Predator 2? But he couldn't because he got hurt doing this movie. Yeah, he got hurt a whole bunch during the making of this movie. Patrick Swayze also wrote songs for this movie. In 2003, there was an off-Broadway play version of this movie, which I would have loved to see.
That would have been a great play in Rushmore, Roadhouse.
Yes. And then, so for the box office of 1989, this Roadhouse came in number 40. Not bad, right? For a movie of this type. The number one movies were Batman, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Lethal Weapon 2, Look Who's Talking, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and then Back to the Future 2 and Ghostbusters 2. Yeah. So my deep cut recommendation is Point Break. Which I would say, like, those two movies go together. Like, they're an obvious pairing because Patrick Swayze is so beautiful and haunting in each one. But they go together so nicely because they're both insane. Nothing makes any sense. People make absurd choices, and it's just fun to watch.
It is also kind of a bromance, too. They're
Yeah.
both kind of bromances.
Yeah. So I recommend that. I recommend Point Break. You can't go wrong. Roadhouse or Point Break, you're going to have a wonderful time. So, like, scale of 1 to 10, like, how many Roadhouses do you give? How many
ripped
How many
necks?
handful of throats?
I'm going to give it a 9, I think.
I think so, too. I think that's a good. Because even the things that were so devastatingly 80s about it just add to what it is, right? Like it makes it even more of what it is. Like when the blonde woman who like has come on to Patrick Swayze several times but belongs to the bad guy, like does like strip tease all around the bar, like that just happens for like 5 minutes of the movie, and it's crazy. It's so good. Yeah. You have to watch this movie. Could you see this? There was talks of remaking this movie and like having Ronda Rousey be the.
It would be missing
Dalton
all of its
character.
charm. Like the charm of Roadhouse is just some of the crazy back alleys it goes down.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that is not great about Roadhouse is the story of a manager having a difficult time in a town. The plot is not what Roadhouse is about.
No.
It's the execution of it.
Yes. And I don't think like it wouldn't make sense in 2019 to tell this story. Like how would you what context would you put them in? They'd be in like a vape shop. Right? Like okay. Anyway, so that's it, man. We covered the whole thing. Did you get anything in your notes that you didn't?
Yeah, no, that's everything. Looking at it. Let's see.
Oh, I did think it was very weird, and we talked about it a little bit, but, like, all of the henchmen in this town, like, carry giant knives, and, like, they're always, like, slashing at people, like, they're going to stab them to death, while other people, like, clap. Like, how many people have they stabbed to death, do you figure?
Right.
I mean, dozens or none, and they just don't, like, people just always are like, hey, don't stab me, and they never have to stab. That's, like, a question for you to ponder as you carry on with your life. All right, so next time we're watching Top Gun. That's going to be the next movie that we're watching.
Part of our testosterone summer kickoff.
Yeah. Woo! Ba-da-da-da. Highway to the Roadhouse. Okay, like us, rate us, review us, give us a thumbs up, do all of that stuff.
Thank you for enjoying it.
Thank you for having enjoyed it. Thank you for enjoying this. Thank you for your rates. Thank you for your reviews. Thank you for going to Squishy Studios and watching all the episodes of Voyage Trekkers and deciding to give Nathan all of your money to make films with. Thank you for coming to NCT and buying boatloads of popcorn from me as you watch me do comedy improv for you. Just thank you for being you. Yeah. So remember to keep the most excellent 80s podcast motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and
Be nice.
be nice.